Thomas and friends in Thomas's mixed up day. And Thomas puts the brakes on. 2 books in one, over 50 stickers. Thomas's mixed up day. Thomas is really useful tank engine. Whenever anyone is in trouble, Thomas is there to help. One day, Thomas was at Maithwaite Station. Sir Topham had arrived on board. Percy, Thomas, I need you to collect a very important passenger. He's a firefighter and a hero. He rescued Lady Hat's cat from a tree. A hero, Thomas cried. And now we're going to give him a medal, Sir Topham had said. Thomas puffed away to collect the firefighter. Thomas was very excited. He was going to meet a real hero. On the way, Thomas saw lots of children at the bus stop. They were excited too. We're going to see the firefighter. Bertie the bus is taking us to the medal ceremony. Then up ahead, Thomas saw a water tower right next to Duck start to tip over. Oh no, the water tower is going to fall on Duck, thought Thomas. I must rescue him. Thomas blew his whistle loudly. Quick, Duck, move now. Duck was surprised. He quickly puffed out of the way just as the water tower crashed to the ground. I rescued you, exclaimed Thomas. No, you didn't, puffed Duck. Rocky was putting the water tower onto my flatbed, and now it's smashed. Thomas hadn't seen Rocky. Rocky had been hidden behind the trees. I'm sorry, I don't have time to help you. I have to collect the firefighter. He's a hero. Later, Thomas saw a tree that had fallen onto the tracks. That looks dangerous, thought Thomas. I must go and tell the signalman. Thomas backed up to a signal box. There's a tree on the lines. The engines must take another track. The signalman changed the points. Just then, Harvey raced toward the junction. He changed tracks and puffed down the other line. Harvey was surprised. Thomas was very pleased with himself. I rescued Harvey, Thomas thought proudly. Now I'm a hero. Thomas shoved on to collect the firefighter. He saw Donald and Douglas stuck behind the fallen tree. I hope Harvey gets here soon, they said. We can't go anywhere until he moves this tree. Thomas knew he'd made a mistake. Oh no, I made Harvey take the other track. I'm not a hero at all. Then Thomas saw Toby on Gordon's express line. Smoke and steam billowed from Toby's axles. Oh no, thought Thomas. Here comes Gordon. I have to rescue Toby. Thomas hunted Toby off the express line and into a siding. Gordon shoved past. He didn't see Toby. I rescued you, Thomas told Toby. No, you didn't, said Toby. Gordon was bringing a mechanic to fix me. Thomas knew he had made another mistake. I'm not a hero, he said. And now the firefighter won't get to the medal ceremony on time. Thomas felt terrible. Just then, Percy puffed up. Percy, will you pick up the firefighter for me? Thomas asked. You'll have to hurry. The medal ceremony starts soon. Percy raced away. Thomas knew what he had to do. First, he found Gordon. Gordon collected the mechanic and took him to fix Toby. Then Thomas found Harvey. He took Harvey to move the fallen tree. Harvey soon cleared the track. Thomas puffed sadly back to Tidmouth. He saw Bertie the bus. The children were standing around him. What's the matter? Asked Thomas. I'm stuck in the mud, huffed Bertie. Now I can't take the children to the medal ceremony. Shall I take the children for you? Asked Thomas. Yes, please, Bertie said gratefully. So all the children climbed on board Annie and Clarabelle, and Thomas puffed away. Thomas arrived at the medal ceremony just in time. Sir Topham Hatt and Lady Hatt gave the firefighter his medal. The children were very happy. You are a hero, and you're our hero, Thomas. Thomas the hero beamed from buffer to buffer. The end. Now for another story. Time for part 2. Thomas puts the brakes on. Ahem. It was a busy time on the island of Sodor. The Sodor River Bridge was being rebuilt. Thomas had been chosen to help the builders. He was very busy and very proud. Thomas was at the building yards. He was excited. This is the last delivery, he huffed to himself. Then the bridge will be finished. Thomas, you must be careful with these blocks, said Sir Topham Hatt. They were made especially for the bridge. There are no more like them anywhere. Yes, sir, Thomas replied, and he shoved carefully out of the yards. Thomas had to stop at a signal, but when he applied his brakes, he heard a squeaking sound. Thomas was worried. Stanley was there. He was taking builders to the bridge. Hello, Thomas, said Stanley. Your brakes don't sound good. Shall I take your load for you? No, thank you. I don't need any help, Thomas replied, and he chuffed quickly away. Next, Thomas saw Emily. Slow down, Thomas. There's a sharp bend ahead, she cried. Thomas applied his brakes. The squeak was much louder this time, and his brakes wouldn't work properly. Thomas raced round the bend much too fast. His wheels hit a bump in the track. Some of the special blocks bounced off his flatbed, but he didn't realize they had fallen. Thomas was worried about his squeaking brakes. I know, he thought. I'll puff more slowly. Thomas arrived at the top of a steep hill. As he went down, he started to roll faster. He applied his brakes, but they still weren't working properly, and the squeak was even louder. Gordon was puffing up the hill. Slow down, Thomas. But Thomas couldn't slow down. He raced into an emergency siding and hit the buffers with a big bump. More of the special blocks bounced off his flat bed. They tumbled down a steep bank. Now there was only one stack left, but Thomas still didn't notice. He was only worried about his squeaking brakes. Thomas set off once more, very slowly for the bridge. Finally, he saw the Soda River Bridge ahead. Hooray, I've made it, he peeped. The builders were waiting. Here's the last special delivery. Thomas puffed proudly. He knew he had to slow down now. He tried to stop, but he couldn't. His brakes had stopped working altogether. Thomas rolled towards the edge of the bridge, fizzling fireboxes. What can I do? With a clang and a crash, Thomas's front wheels clanked over the edge of the bridge. His flatbed bashed his buffers with a bump. The last of the special blocks fell from his flatbed. Cinders and ashes! I've lost one of the special blocks. No, Thomas, said the foreman. You've lost them all now. The bridge can't be finished. Oh no, this is a disaster, Thomas cried. Stanley was coupled up to Thomas. Slowly he pulled Thomas back to safety. Thomas was upset. How did I lose the blocks? He huffed to himself. Then Thomas remembered the bump on the bridge. It had made the last block fall from his flatbed. Maybe the other blocks fell when I had the other bumps, he thought. Thomas knew what he had to do. Stanley, will you help me, please? He asked. We must take Rocky with us. Stanley was happy to help his friend. Stanley shunted Thomas behind him, and Murdoch shunted Rocky. They reached the bottom of the steep hill. This is where I bashed the buffers with a bump, said Thomas. Hooray! There is where the special blocks fell off. Soon, Rocky had lifted the blocks onto Stanley's flatbed, and they all puffed on. Thomas and Stanley found the rest of the special blocks at the sharp bend, and Rocky lifted those blocks onto Stanley's flatbed too. Stanley shunted Thomas back into the yards, then set off proudly with the special blocks. Good luck, Stanley. I was silly not to have asked for your help. Thank you. A mechanic looked at Thomas. I've come to have my brakes fixed, Thomas told him. They make a terrible squeak. Later that day, Thomas chuffed back to the Soda River Bridge. He put his brakes on. There was no squeak at all. He stopped beside Stanley. My brakes are fixed now, Thomas peeped proudly. And this is the end of the book about Thomas and friends in Thomas's mix-up day. And lastly, Thomas puts the brakes on. That's a really good book made from Random House. Thomas and Friends, making tracks to great destinations.